There was an explosion that resulted in loss of lives and property, as well as injuries to a number of people around La. It was at a gas filling station. But before then, we've been recording a number of fire incidents across the country. And we know that top on the list will be the one we recorded. That's about 2 years ago. Not exactly 2 years, but it was recorded in the year 2015. It was June 3. We particularly call it the June 3 flood and fire disasters. But through it all, it seems that as a people, we don't seem to have learnt our lessons. Well, we have regulations. And according to those regulations, we needed to do things or handle inflammable materials in a certain way. Well, since we're reneging on going through those regulations or going through the laws, what should we be doing? And so we decided to put together this very conversation for you. Mama Osuabwaje is at the forecourt of the fire station at the Makola Market with the Deputy Director of PR for the Ghana National Fire Service, Billy Anaglate. And I am here in the studio with Dr. Opoku Ware Ampoma. He's the Director for the National Reconstructive Plastic Surgery and Burns Center, Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
All right. It's not really at the Korle Bu Teaching, it's at Korle Bu.
Yeah, it's a Korle Bu Teaching. It's in the hospital.
It's part of the hospital?
Yes, please.
Great. That's a big position. But if a big man like you're witnessing people go through things that they could have been preventing, it's a worry. Is that not?
Yes, indeed. It's very sad to witness some of these things because more than 80% of burn injuries are preventable, and so if you see large numbers of burns, it means that we are not taking preventive measures seriously as a nation.
What are the causes of some of the burns that you see?
All right. There are a number of variety of causes. All right. Generally, it depends on the age group you are talking about. When you're looking at children, the commonest cause of burns in children is from hot liquids, so hot soup, hot water, that kind of thing. So, and usually domestic, where usually there's no separation between the where food is prepared and where kids are playing. So if you go to a typical compound house, you find children are just running around all over the place, and they get accidents. So these domestic accidents are quite common. Those are the common cause in children. But then when you come to the more like the adult population, we've seen a very interesting trend over the last 10 years, where a significant proportion of events are now from petroleum and gas-related explosions. And so, although the other causes of burns like electricity, and when people get into contact with electricity, the other cause of burns like radiation, other things. Those, and then we also do see chemical burns every now and again. But then, in terms of numbers, the commonest cause of burns now are burns from fires and petrochemical-related injuries, and then ones from hot liquids.
It means that we're not handling them well, or what?
Yes, because what's happening is that if you look at the problem with petroleum and gas products, for instance, when there's like an explosion, a mass casualty situation involving a large number of people, it creates a lot of media attention. So our attention is drawn to it. But constantly, throughout the year, we still have significant numbers of people getting burned at the domestic level. So sometimes just a family of 3, 5 people, that kind of thing. And it's happening consistently. So if you look at the data now, if you look at our admissions, for instance, about almost 40% of our admissions are from petroleum and gas related explosions, like what we saw at Labadi recently. And then, if you look at even mortalities from burns, that accounts for about 45% of the deaths from burns, because those people come out with very, very extensive, burns, very horrific injuries where survival chances are very, very low. So it accounts for quite a significant portion of these burns. And these, as we are discussing, can be largely prevented if we are able to apply the appropriate, preventive measures.
We know that the latest one will be the gas explosion.
Yes.
And you saw some of the victims at your hospital?
Yes, we did.
Okay. In what condition did they come in?
In fact, the ones that we saw 3 of the most severely burnt patients. In fact, 2 of them had burns. More than 96% of their body was totally burned. You know, they were literally cooked alive. And they also had burns to the face. They had inhaled some of the stuff and things. So, in fact, as soon as they arrived, I mean, although we tried to do our best for them, we knew that the chance of survival were really, really very, very slim. And it was a very sad situation because this was a mother, a grandmother and a grandson, and then a friend who just happened to pass by to visit. So basically was in the wrong place at the wrong time, you know. And so these 3, they came very horrified. I think their house was just adjacent to the filling station, so they came a very extensive injuries. The mother's friend had over about 85% burns, and these are all very, you know, extreme injuries, which you know, survival is very, very slim. So these 3, you know, passed away within 3 days of admission, unfortunately. And our condolences go out to the bereaved families. The others who came in were, you know, passers-by who were also caught in the whole situation. There was the 2 gentlemen who were knocked down by the blast wind. You know, when in time there's an explosion, it creates what is called a blast wind, you know, and so it's, you know, it can really knock you off your feet. So
the wind.
Yeah, the
speed of the wind.
Yes, from the blast. Yes, it can. So these are people who the shock wave, you know, just knocked them off. So one of them had a fracture on his lower thigh, another one a fracture of his thigh bone, and then there's another gentleman who, you know, was at the back of a pickup truck which was passing. So when he saw the ball of flame, you know, he panicked, and so he jumped off the back of the moving pickup, and so he ended up fracturing his pelvic bone and damaging his urethra, the passage where urine passes. You know, so those are on admission. There was another victim who also sustained burns, but he has been discharged and is being reviewed on an outpatient basis.
The wind people, the victims of the wind, the wind people.
Yeah.
Do they also suffer burns?
No, they didn't suffer burns, but it's just
they suffered injuries as a result of
yes,
the force of the wind.
The force of the blast effect. Yes.
How dangerous is an inflammable material related to petrochemical, whether LPG or natural gas or petrol or diesel? How dangerous?
You know, these are very, very you know, explosive materials.
Combustible.
You know, combustible material, and they also detonate at very high. They release a lot of energy when they detonate. So these are potentially very dangerous substances. Although they can be used safely if we apply the appropriate safety mechanisms, but we have to be aware of the danger of these things. You know, and there's something I've been saying, you know, that sometimes when we carry all these gas cylinders, you know, and we carry them into our homes, we're actually carrying little bombs into our homes, and that's why we have to know, you know, the best place to place them, how to handle them safely, you know, make sure that we apply the appropriate safety measures to make sure that we do not become, you know, victims, as it were.
So you had to treat them, and ultimately, it will require funding. So usually when they come in like that, nobody will pay or families will pay. Or, how do you cater for them?
For those who come, you know, the everyday victims, it falls onto the victims and their families to pay, because as it turns out, although NHIS covers a bit of the funding, the NHIS doesn't pay more than 1,000 cedis for each victim's treatment. And if you have somebody who has even about 40 to 50% burns, by the time they finish their treatment, they would have spent about 30,000 cedis averagely on their treatment. So somebody has to make up this shortfall. And so it's either the victim's family or relatives who cough up this amount. Sometimes when we are lucky, we get benevolent individuals or organizations coming in to support that kind of thing. In fact, constantly we have a number of patients we've treated and are discharged, but we cannot say no because you know,
they haven't paid up their bills.
Their
to be discharged.
Haven't been settled, and so sometimes we use the social welfare system, which is also the social welfare system itself has its own problems. You know, so it's always a bit of a challenge for those of us who are at the forefront of treating these patients.
Dr. Mpoma, describe this for me. 40% burn. Give us a description. What does it mean?
All right.
So, I mean, see my body and do a 40% burn.
Okay. All right. So there's something in outdoors. There's something called the rule of nines. Okay. So if you get a burn to your whole head, it's 9%. If you get a burn to your upper limb, either of your upper limbs is 9%. So that's 9%. That's 9%.
So it makes it
So the front
18.
the front of your trunk here is 18%. Your back is 18%. Each of your 2 lower limbs is 18%. And then your perineum, that's the area around the genitalia, is 1%. So if you add it all up, it comes up to 100%. So that's how we estimate the size. So a size of a burn. And if you get any burn more than 30%, that's a very significant injury. And it has a lot of complications associated with it.
Okay.
So it means that.
But if you have a 30% burn, but your face is not burnt,
yeah,
that's good enough?
No, it's still a significant burn. I'm saying that when you get burned, most of the time people look at a burn as if it's just a wound, but it's not just a wound. Once you have, the skin has got a certain function. So the skin serves to protect your body, from invasion of bacteria. It keeps fluid within your body. It serves you prevents you from getting dehydrated. It has other functions that it does. It's part of your immune system, etc. So when your skin gets burned beyond a certain extent, it means it's like you've opened the floodgates for all the bacteria in the environment to just walk straight into your body without any, and then you also lose a lot of fluid. That's why when people get burned, you see all these blisters that are forming and things, all fluid leaking out of the body. So, you lose fluid from the circulation. That's why when people get burned, we need to rehydrate them, and
constantly.
Exactly. Keep them rehydrated, make sure that they're passing a lot of urine. And then, of course, there's the wound to treat, and you have to prevent it from getting infected because it affects them. And then the fact that you've gotten a big burn itself, it also, affects the way your body works. So it affects, so although you may have, let's say you get a burn of just even your 2 lower limbs. Now each lower limb, I said, is 18%. So if you get your 2 lower limbs getting burned, that's a 36% burn. All right. Now the uninitiated person will look at it and think, oh, it's just when you're shaking now, it's okay. But then it affects every other system in your body. So it affects your kidney, to affect your heart, to affect your intestines, the way your whole body works. So it sets in place some changes, responses within your body. Yeah, it's because of the way the body works. So this triggers effects in all the systems in your body. That's why burn patients are need to be really sort of treated and monitored very, very carefully.
You need to be handled with care.
Exactly. And in a certain kind of environment because of some of these derangements that occur. And once you get the burn healed up, all these things reverse back to normal. But once the wound is still there, these things keep on going. So you find out that the person starts losing weight, they break down, so even the energy requirement alone changes. So, what we call the metabolic rate is affected. So you find that if you needed a certain amount of food or fluid a day, the fact that you've gotten burnt, it will be more than twice that. So you find the person starts losing weight, the person's immune system just goes into shutdown, and so they are vulnerable to all these infections from the environment, etc.
I get your point. Physically, you can't take in food, but your metabolism has...
Exactly.
I see. It takes a lot of...
Exactly.
All right. So for all the things that are happening, it means that you at the end of the channel.
Yeah.
Okay? They bring you the victims.
Yes.
So do you also then collaborate with those at the beginning and the middle of the channel to make sure that perhaps policy, perhaps implementation people and education and all that?
Yes, in fact, that is something that my center has been taking seriously. In fact, for the past more than 8 years, it's something that we've been championing. We've been at any forum that we've given the opportunity. We've talked about the way we need to prevent, because it's like, I feel like or myself and my staff, we feel like we are like laborers, in a house, and there's a leaking roof, and there's raining, and we have a leaking roof, and we're just trying to mop the floor. Whereas what we need to do is to seal the hole in the roof. So that's what we feel. So we do need services that to be able to take care of those who get burned. But then I think the main thrust of our efforts should be towards prevention. That's something that we've been trying to do. And of course, we cannot do it alone, because if you're going to put in adverts, etc., you need media support. In fact, we're proactive enough to get some of these media persons and other important persons to even give short messages about burn prevention, but then somebody needs to sponsor the airtime and all those kind of things. So all these are some of the challenges. But in our own way, anytime we're given the opportunity, we speak about these things, and we've also trying to liaise with ministry and other stakeholders to see how best we can prevent this. In fact, we even did some work with the National Petroleum Authority where they produced leaflets on how to handle gas cylinders safely. But it's just that the effort needs to be intensified.
Well, we have to let you go. We hear you're a very busy man, so we have to let you go. But how do you fund all that? I mean, for the things that you do, because ordinary people cannot fund a 30,000 bill, for example, for a 40% to burn. And I'm sure if somebody gets 80%, it runs into hundreds of thousands of Ghana.
Yes, it's an ongoing challenge, and usually we try to appeal to public spirited individuals or benevolent organizations to come to the aid of these pains. So we were lucky, although there was an unfortunate situation in June 2015. It also had some positive side in the sense that it raised people's awareness about the fact that burns are a reality in our environment, and so people came and contributed. And so in fact it's some of those items that were contributed that we've been using to sort of offset the cost of treatment for some of these victims. But as it's now, we literally ran out, so we need to sustain it. Yes.
Okay, we'll see how that goes, and we'll see what kind of assistance we can do. Perhaps maybe we can use this as part of our initiative too for the year on the show. We'll see how that goes. But we've had in the studio Dr. Opoku Wariampoma. He's the director for the National Reconstructive Plastic Surgery and Burn Center. It's at the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. He's been helping us do the education for you and for myself about what the level of burns are and the percentages and what it means to cater for the victims or those who come to the center for treatment, and what also we need to do by way of collaborating effectively with key stakeholders to ensure that the education gets down to you and I. You wanted to add something?
Yes, I just wanted to just sort of to cap it off to mention that the preventive strategies are not just what we do immediately, but it's from even the way we build our houses, how we arrange the houses. Sometimes when there's a fire, the fire service can't even get in there, because if we build the houses properly and are properly arranged, fires will not easily spread from one house to the other. Even the kind of materials we build with, the quality of the materials, the quality of our wiring systems, etc. When you have any house, at least every 10, 15 years, you might have to check the wiring system, make sure that, so all these are primary prevention, and even where we locate, we talk about location of some of these potentially hazardous, products, where we keep them, all that. And so there's one level of prevention that many times we are not looking at, which the city authorities can easily do if they have the will and the determination. They can easily do some of those things. Before we get to the secondary things like teaching people how to handle some of these substances carefully, teaching people how to handle electricity, gas, and other potentially hazardous substances safely. That's also one end of the education. And we also need to involve our schools. How many of our children in school actually get some education on and training on health prevention, and then even what to do when somebody gets burned, first aid, that kind of thing. So all these are aspects of the education that we need to look at.
Awesome contribution. Dr. Opoku Wariampoma with the National Reconstructive Plastic Surgery and Burn Center, the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. And we have to thank you very much for it. And that is why we extend the education, because currently, Mama View Osuabuaje is at the forecourt of the fire station at the Makola Market, the Central Business District. And she's taking it from here. Mama View, are you ready?
Definitely worries a lot, because it's one of the major factors when we talk about fires around the season. And that's why the AM show is in Makola with one of the main National Fire Service stations, and Mr. Prince Billy Anaglate, one of our favorite firemen who's in charge of public relations with the service, is joining us to give us, first of all, some statistics. We also want to know their major challenges, and we will be testing some of the hydrants that they have here in Makola. So Happy New Year to you, sir.
Many, many happy returns. I hope you are doing well.
Fantastic. We thank you for joining us here on the AM show. And what's the hope for this year in terms of the fires? Definitely, I mean, the prayer is so we don't experience, but we know that it would come. from the point of view of the fire service, what's your, what's the thinking for the year?
Well, actually, as you rightly said, all of us are working together to ensure that the fires in the first place do not occur. But no matter what we do until the public also complement our efforts, we will definitely be having some preventable fires, of course. Yes, this year, before even the Hamilton, as you rightly stated, that the Hamilton have been a factor in some of these fire outbreaks that we have in this period. The fire service is able to put in several measures, preventable measures as well, including monitoring of activities of people in the markets, even on the communities where we have sent a lot of people to educate them. Even that, we had some fire outbreaks, but the good news is that all those fire outbreaks that we have, if you compare it within the same period of last year, there is a reduction, which simply means that as much as we are going to relent on their efforts, we will continue to ensure that next year we are going to have a reduction in the fire outbreaks. We will do everything possible to get to 0 fire outbreaks. But even if it will occur, comparatively, we believe that it will be lower than this year. If you look at the period from even 27 to 2nd January, it sounds alarming that we have 140 fires, there 27 to 2nd,
27 December to 2nd of January 2017, we have 140 fires.
Yes, but that 140, if we speak in isolation, it looks very alarming. But if you compare it as we have done previously on some of these statistics, there is definitely a reduction in that. But our biggest worry is about the domestic fires. All these, nature of fires that we have, domestic fires outnumber all that we have. With the 140, 64 those fires are related to homes, so which should be a worry situation to everybody. But then we are also doing everything possible with our introduction of home fire safety certification, which will be rolled out, effectively next year. We are hoping we'll be able to bring the home domestic fire.
When you say effective next year, are you talking about 2017?
Yeah, 2017.
Okay.
I'm saying that effective next year because this year we're just launching it in all the regions. We're able to launch the home fire safety certification in all the regions. What the home fire safety certification is that every home is going to be under every obligation to ensure that you have your fire certificate, you have your firefighting facilities like extinguishers, you have your early detection and warning system. The firemen will get to every home to have a risk assessment to determine the type of risk. It could be the medium, the low, and the high risk that you have in. That will determine the type of facilities that you need there to prevent the fires, or when it occurs, you should be able to mitigate it and reduce its impact. You agree with us that several people died within few months that we had just because of the way they have their burglar-proof, set up in their homes. You get into people's home, they have a fixed burglar-proof. They don't even ensure that they have alternative exits. They don't even ensure that those burglar-proof should be the type that in case of any emergency, they will be able to open them. They are still sieve burglar-proof within the window by barricading themselves. The fire occurs, they don't have anywhere to pass. But with this new introduction of home fire safety certification, we will ensure that every home will have the sliding burglar-proof that in case of any emergency, they will be able to use it alternative.
So this 140, are they all preventable fires?
Most of those fires are preventable. Only few one that will say, well, accidental, that you should look at it. But even those with the accidental, there are human factor behind them, which means that they could also be prevented, provided we change our attitude, provided we are able to ensure that we have the safety measure put in place. The other thing that I also want to talk on is about some of those fires. Before even the fire service get there, they are out on arrival. If I say out on arrival, they do not go off by themselves. But because of the training, because of the education that we've given to the public, some of them are able to institute those measures within their premises by having fire extinguishers, but ensuring that when the fire occurred, they are able to use the extinguishers to extinguish the fire at the time that the fire is at its incipient stage. So it is a good news. We will ensure that everybody is able to institute those safety measures that we spell out that would prevent the fires, or when the unexpected happen, we will be able to reduce its impact. But what we are also planning early this year, 2017, our first target is going to be the media houses. That we are going to send people to the media house to assess them. We know you use a lot of electricity. You have various gadgets. You get into the studios. You have a wall that have a lot of combustibles with wires around it. So it is our target. As long as the media houses assist us in our fire safety education, we will also ensure that they are protected from fire.
So are you in the process going to be shutting down some media houses?
Yes, we've done it before, and if it is necessary, that is not our target. Our target is to ensure that they comply with the rules and regulations to prevent fires there. But if it is necessary that we close down any media house for the sake of protection of life and property, we will surely do that.
So around what time this year? I know you've said early 2017, but what's the specific timeline?
Well, we'll be moving on to the media houses unannounced, so I will not spell out the day.
So it could be any day, any time.
Yeah, it could be any day, any time. It could be tomorrow. It could be any day.
And your purpose would be to assess how fire ready or fire safety ready they are.
Yes, to ensure that first of all, if they have adequate exits, that in case of any emergency, they will be able to get evacuated without any external assistance. To also determine when they have adequate fire facilities such as fire extinguishers, early detection and warning system like smoke detectors, if they also have training into how to use those facilities in case the unexpected happens. Those are some of the things that we'll be looking at. Then we'll move on to see how the electrical wiring system are. If it is over age, we advise them. Then we also determine how they use those electrical systems. If they don't overload them, if the switches and sockets are old, those are some of the things that we'll look out for and advise here.
Okay. So one of the reasons we came to the Makola fire station, this is one of your mains, is to see the fire hydrants that you have and how ready you are, even as we see that your cars are packed. If there's any incident and you're called, how quickly you can get to the scene. So can you take us to the hydrants that you have? Do you have one immediately here?
Yeah, we have one here. Yes. Actually, hydrants are metal pipe fitting that are shipped on the main water lines. So that is the only source where the fire service depends on in firefighting. We depend solely on the water for firefighting. So hydrant is one of the biggest challenge for the fire service if they are not readily available.
Can you take us to the hydrants, and then in the process you can explain to us?
We have one readily available here, so we can move on to it, and then you see how it is. So hydrants, we have a hydrant specification of every 100 meters interval. That should be along the roads and even scattered in the communities. That when you get into a community when there is fire, as soon as we start fighting the fire with the water in the tender, for us to have uninterrupted water supply, we quickly connect the delivery hose to the hydrant that would give us water. But in the absence of this, that we don't have the specification of 100 meters interval hydrant. We get into communities, you don't even have the hydrant that you have to use. You get into some, you have the hydrant, but water is not passing through. So that has been one of our biggest challenges. So I'll ask them just to open the hydrant, and we'll see how it works. So you should just open the hydrant, and we'll see how the hydrant works.
Okay, so fortunately you have one right in front of the station. What does it mean? If you're called that there's fire somewhere, what do? Do you fill?
Yeah, already, if you look at the tender, they are all filled down. They have water to the capacity. So in case there is fire, they will move with the one in. So when they get to a community and they don't have a hydrant to give them that uninterrupted water supply, what they do is after the water is depleted in the tender or in the vehicle, then they have to drive to this place. So imagine if this is the only hydrant that is working in the Greater Accra region, they are fighting fire at Adenta and the water is finished, then they have to drive all the way. The fire will not be waiting for anybody.
Okay. But fortunately, this is flowing, right? There's water in it. How do you test if there's water?
Yeah, so he's going to open it. What he has on is the standpipe. He has a standpipe, so he shipped the standpipe onto the hydrant. Then he has the key to open it. So if it's flowing, water will definitely come. And then you'll see, yes,
Okay.
this one is flowing.
So is this non-stop?
Is it?
Non-stop. Are you assured that always this will be flowing?
No, it's not always. That is the challenge that we have with the water company. There are times that water doesn't pass through this. If this area and then you don't have water in your pipe, flowing in the pipe, means that the hydrant will not flow at all, because it's dependent on the main water source. So at times you come here, you open it, you don't even get water at all. But today it is flowing, means that in case of any eventuality, we will be able to access this one.
Okay. Do you have a water reservoir? Do you have a tank?
We don't. We depend solely on this. We don't have a tank, yeah.
So whose responsibility is this?
It is the water company that is responsible for the installation and servicing of this hydrant. They are to ensure that they are readily available for the fire service to use. That is why you and I pay 1% for our water consumption bill to water company to be used for the installation and servicing of the hydrants. Yes.
I think the hydrants that I have mostly seen are those not heading. This I see is well covered. What it means is that people can easily have access to it.
Yes.
But is that helpful to the service?
It is, because like you said, those that you can see from a distance, they are called pillar hydrants. You know, pillar hydrant, anybody at all can tamper with it if you are not there. But the hidden one, before you open it, you know, you have to have all the keys to it before you be able, just to protect it. We have these ones, and for also to enable these hydrants to be located in areas. It wouldn't hamper any movement. If it's along the roads, definitely, because it's concealed within the ground, it is good for us to use and to prevent people from tampering with it.
All right, but this is not the only hydrants that you have here. So around this area, how many do you have?
Around this area, I think we have about 8. Even we have about 3 immediately just behind you here, that we can move in there for us to see the situation as they are at the moment.
Okay. All right, so Mr. Prince Billy Anaglate is going to take us to another fire hydrant for us to assess the situation. Fortunately, there's one right in front of the station that has water running through it. So we're going to test another one and see. Come with us. You're still watching the AM show. And today we're out testing some of the major hydrants in Makola. This is the center of a lot of things. Mr. Anaglate is going to take us to the other hydrants. But I must tell you, I mean, Makola is a very busy place. We're going to be crossing the streets. If there was an incident, this is what the truck will be doing, right? Yeah, exactly. You'll be crossing.
Exactly. So definitely Makola is a busy place. But when the unexpected happens, you need to ensure that you carefully make sure vehicles give you way, okay. Then you can move in to do whatever is suspected. It's all about protection of life and property.
All right, so we're going to check the hydrant. How long would you say the walk would be from your station?
It's just a stone throw. Hydrants are supposed to be 100 meters interval. Yeah. Yes, but so we have this one not far from here. We have just one directly because it's a market area. They are able to concentrate some number of hydrants within this area, so that in case of multiple incidents, we will be able to assess those ones. Unfortunately, we will see whether all of them are giving us the water that we need.
Okay. All right. This is, I must warn you, this is a very busy marketplace. So we will not certainly at some point have a stable camera connection. We're trying to do our best to capture the moments for you right here on the AM show on this trip, which is really important because as Mr. Prince Anaglate told us, the figures from 27 December, you said, to the 2nd of January 2017, we have 140 fires that we've recorded already. Which of the regions has given us the greatest number?
Yeah, the Greater Accra region is the highest with 54 fires, and then followed by the Ashanti region. But if you look at the other side, our concern so much is mainly on the domestic ones. You understand me? In the sense that with domestic fires, that can be prevented, but with all the education that we are giving out, we know there is a reduction, of course, in it, but people should do more people should do more to ensure that those domestic fires are also reduced. You can see we have a hydrant just right here. You can even see how people are even selling, having their wares to cover it. In case of any emergency, just imagine how difficult it's going to be.
So hang on, which of them is the hydrant? Is this the one with the?
They have the woods on, you know, the pits that they are going to leave the thing off it is where the hydrant, you know, is concealed in. So before you access the hydrant, you have to remove all that before you can access the hydrant.
Can we get a bit closer to the action?
Yes, we can.
So in the event that there's an emergency, this is what is going to happen. You would come and be lifted things like you've just done.
That is why the men are trained, so that they are able to lift all this with ease. So in case of any emergency, they get in here. These things are covered because we are aware that people even use them. When it's open, people use them as a pit where they dump rubbish and other things to conceal it. So we normally cover this and to ensure that people, just let's go ahead and open it and find out if water is flowing through this. That in case of any emergency that we should depend on. If water is flowing, then that is good for all of us. If water is not flowing, that is why we have the problem.
Okay, we have a little boy crossing us. We'll try and get him off. Yeah, a little firefighter. Every young boy, all the little boys want to be firefighters. Yeah,
exactly, you know, because of they don't look at the danger. They look at it as something that pleases them. Even the vehicle alone with the noise, they want to be associated with it. But it's risky. We do all this at the peril of our life. Yeah.
And we appreciate it. Okay, so you're trying to find out if there's water in this as well.
So as he's turning it, you can see no water is even coming. No water. He keeps turning it. Let's see if water will come at all.
But I see little drops.
Yes, so if you see a little drop, that is not what we need to fill our tank. That is not what we can depend on. So if the pressure is very low, you can see those drops, but you can't use it. There's no water coming with all this.
So what it means is we should see it coming like we saw the first one.
Exactly. It should come from that source. If the pressure is good, then we'll be able to take water into our vehicle. But here is the case, not even a drop that has come out of the pipe. Because the pressure is very low, it can't even climb up to come out for us to assess it.
A PRO for the Ghana National Fire Service, Billy Anaglate, talking to Mamavi Owusu-Abuaje at the Makola market area. First, they were at the forecourt of the fire station located in the Central Business District. But that is where we come to a close on our conversations. We have to thank all of you for listening or watching in, and also all our guests this morning. We say we appreciate you, and we know that tomorrow you'll join us same time. Please have a blessed day. Bye-bye.